Hello all you people out there in Wonderland. I'm bringing this video to you. It's a video I've seen before, but haven't seen it in a while. A commenter, viewer, possible subscriber sent it to me, thought I might be interested in it. So, I hadn't seen it in long enough that I thought I might gain further insight by watching it again. It's largely based on the material of Dan Bursch, who claimed to work at S4, which is a division of Area 51, some miles southwest, I think, of Groom Lake facility. If you watch some of Dan Bursch's actual interviews or some of the videos that he made with his, I guess, girlfriend, maybe co-worker, I'm not sure. Basically, I think they just got really into Stargate SG-1 because that's kind of what it seems like to me, at least. However, there are some interesting things that I thought I might point out. It's like an hour-long video, but I spliced it up into parts that were able to be seen through a AP Alice perspective. So there might be some interesting bits in here, and the badge that Dan Bursch had is very similar to the badge that Bob Lazar talked about, and I do happen to think that Bob Lazar was legitimate, so it's a possibility this guy was too, but a lot of his stuff that he says, in his personal videos seems kind of wishy-washy, like bad acting, honestly, but, man, I certainly believe in the looking glass technology. I think the aircraft that will be talked about in the first segment, that they called quote-unquote the licorice drop, is very interesting. Personally, I think the most interesting part of all of this, very black monolithly, E-ish, very much like a doorway, as well as an aircraft. I wish I knew more about this licorice drop craft. Unfortunately, I don't. So I'm going to do some further research from here and see what else I can uncover. But I spliced together the parts that I thought were very Alice-y. You'll hear stuff about the looking glass, the licorice drop aircraft, which is basically black goo. You'll hear stuff about the White Rabbit with his red coat and his pocket watch from Alice in Wonderland, which is like a statue actually leading down into the facility, the main innards of the facility. Dan Bursch, apparently, according to him, he befriended an alien that was actually kept at Area S4 that was recovered from a craft in Arizona, Kingston, Arizona. I can't remember which. But the crash in 1953, he was the second extraterrestrial that was supposedly recovered. The first one apparently died. But, like I said, I kind of think Dan Bursch is full of shit. So, take it for what it is. Some of the parts are pretty interesting. So, with no further ado, here you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you think Dan Bursch is full of crap, if you think Bob Lazar is full of crap. The speaker who's presenting this, I think, to a MUFON conference in 2011, I really like this guy. He does a very extensive breakdown of the Cash Landrum incident. He does a very extensive breakdown of a lot of aircraft. The Flying Bell type craft that crashed in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, I believe. That was very ancient Egyptian-y, but also very Nazi Bell. So, I don't know. Take it for what it is. This is all hearsay and conspiracy theory and possible bullshit. So, I don't know, but I will tell you that black licorice drop aircraft, quite gnarly. So I'm going to do some more research on that. Enjoy the little clips. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot them my way. All my contact information will be in the description. And y'all have a Merry Christmas. More videos to come before Jesus' birthday is here, so look forward to that under your Christmas trees.
Hangar Bay 8s contain a black isosceles triangle. They call it the licorice drop, according to Dan Burrish. And I will mention that everything from Hangar Bay 1 to Hangar Bay 7 were all extraterrestrial vehicles. Hangar Bay 8 was the only alien vehicle, because there's a difference between extraterrestrials and aliens. And according to Dr. Dan Burrish, the exterior configuration, or what it looked like when you saw this craft, it looked like a black liquid mercury that you could fall into. It was a very unique surface texture on this particular craft. Project Aquarius terminology. Let's talk about some terminology here. Project Galileo. Project Aquarius is nothing more than an umbrella term for everything having to do with mankind's interaction with extraterrestrials. Below that, there are about 5 different programs. The first one is Project Galileo. It dealt with the propulsion system of extraterrestrial and future terrestrial vehicles. So that was the first one. Second one under Project Aquarius was Project Sidekick. Relates to a weapons program. No further information is available from Dan Burrish on that program. Project Looking Glass dealt with the physics of seeing the effects of an artificially produced gravity wave on time. The fourth project was a second-generation weapons program which originated with Project Sidekick, no program name provided. The fifth program dealt with a series of biological defense operations which Dan served in the capacity of senior scientist. There was a meeting between President Dwight D. Eisenhower and representatives of the P-52 Orions, and a treaty was signed. A copy of that treaty was kept at Area S4 Level 4-1, and they also gave President Eisenhower something called the Orion Cube, which we'll talk about as well. What is the Orion Cube? It was also known as the Yellow Book. It has nothing to do with phone numbers, okay? What it is it's a 8 by 8 inch square cube, and it's a quantum viewing device that you could, once it's accessed, you could look at the probabilities of future events. There was protocols that had to be followed in order to activate this. And at one time, it's believed that this cube was stored at level 4-1. Later, it was moved to the Scottish Rite Masonic Temple just outside Washington, D.C. From that point further, we don't know where it is. So that's the lineage of the Orion Cube. Moving into the facility, the first thing you'll see when you look and walk into level 4-2 is a 3-foot-tall statue of an Alice in Wonderland rabbit. There's a symbolic message that they're giving you here. There's a primary looking glass device, and then on either side of that primary looking glass device, ladies and gentlemen, there are 2 secondary ERBs, or Einstein-Rosen bridges. Up on the left, I've got a graphic of what we have termed the galactic positioning codes, because when you access a Stargate at the S4 facility, you don't need to have a galactic positioning code on your arm or flip book, because all that data is inside the control room. But when you go outside S4, you do need to get this positioning code data so that you know where you're going. Looking glass device, you'll notice that there's this toroid or donut ring-shaped device, and inside this we have multiple permanent electromagnets, and this is consistent with 6 electromagnetic fields that form above this device. There is a up and down actuating rotating cylinder, so it's a height adjustable rotating cylinder which is attached to a 3-axis gimbal system. That's the general layout of the looking glass device. Now, what does this thing do? Well, it can actually warp the fabric of space-time both forwards and back, and you can actually see the probabilities of future events. That's the primary function. However, there's a secret to the looking glass device, which Dan Burrish has told us. What you can do is you can flip this device up at 45-degree angle, and if you tune it to a slightly different frequency, it can be used as a Stargate. So it actually has a dual purpose. Now, per Dan's comments, there was a 3-foot-tall statue of an Alice in Wonderland rabbit. He had a maroon vest, he had golden fringes, and he had black buttons. He was holding a clock, and this is symbolic that you're going down the rabbit hole into a world that's beyond belief, and that's exactly what happens in the looking glass area. So it was a symbolic encrypted message. Now, when we talk about time travel and we talk about the doctrine of convergent timeline paradox, in my assessment, there is no better illustration of this concept than the movie Back to the Future 2. And they talk about this in that movie. So just to illustrate this, for example, on the bottom here, we've got something called the flow of time, representative of the bottom arrow or timeline 1. That's the timeline we're on. So we're moving down this timeline and everything is fine, everything is great, and then somebody decides to flip on one of these looking glass devices, and this is called the looking glass point of observation. That's right here. Now, we have someone that is looking into the future of probable events. At that point, at that exact point in time, we are no longer, ladies and gentlemen, on timeline 1, but we are now on timeline 2, and we have theoretically we have affected our future timeline 1. So that's how this works. The looking glass configuration is the general configuration on the upper left-hand corner, and then on the upper right-hand corner, we've rotated the device 45 degrees from the horizontal, and now it's in the, quote, Stargate configuration. So that's what we see there. The flip book, this was something that engineers wore on their arms, and it was kind of a GPS code book because you have to know where you are and where you're going when you operate or access one of these Stargates. Now, some of you may have seen the movie Stargate. The actual Stargate looks nothing like what you see in the movies. The only thing that is consistent is this metal catwalk that gets you into the actual Stargate. That's the only similarity in the entire operation. Level S4, level 3. We're moving on to level 3. This is the SolidWorks rendering. Below, we have the AutoCAD rendering.